You know what actually sucks? Is that Asmongold is so wealthy, he's so rich, that his quality of life will not change. Alright? I know everybody memes about how trashy Asmongold is or whatever. Well, he's rich. He gets to have the choice on whether or not he gets to live a trashy life or not, right? The freedom of choice to choose what kind of life you want to live. But a lot of people aren't going to have that choice. When a lot of people want to actually live nicer, they can't, because now prices are going to be higher because of universal tariffs, and so therefore they're going to live in a shittier position overall over the next few years. And the fact that there's already like irreversible damage to the economy either way, and then Asmongold is still like providing sweeping for Trump is, I guess it's just kind of sad.
What are my view on the tariffs? I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows. I think that it's massively destabilizing. I know people, I've had friends of mine contact me and they've said like, yeah, bro, like our company is like way worse. Like we have this massive issue. We're thinking about doing layoffs, right? So like I've had people tell me like that they're really bad.
He posted this. So the many investors coming to the United States and investing massive amounts of money, my policies will never change. This is a great time to get rich, richer than ever before. I will remind you that China announced its retaliatory.
Yeah, I mean, like, Asmongold began the video off by saying, oh, I've got a lot of friends who are laying off people. Typically, when you're laying off people at a company, it's not because companies are getting rich and richer than ever before. It's because companies are getting poorer and poorer, they're not doing so well, so therefore they don't have enough money to sustain the salaries of so many employees. So you're going to be cutting out a lot of the non-essential employees in your company. Essential meaning, okay, this is just to keep the functionality of the company running, right? So, yeah, no, it's, again, Trump is just lying.
Tariffs around 5 a.m. Eastern time today to the tune of 35% for American products going into China.
So 34,
so that was the latest move. We'll see how it bounces back and forth throughout the day and into the weekend as we move forward. All right, this from last night, Air Force One. Roll it.
What we have is we have a set of tariffs based on what they've been charging us. That's reciprocal. And those tariffs have come in and every country's called us. That's the beauty of what we do. We put ourselves in the driver's seat.
President Trump.
Yep, that's right. And the only problem is people think he's putting himself in the driver's seat and then driving directly into a wall. That's the issue. And now, is that wall the Great Wall of China? We're going to find out.
You wrote a column that is getting a lot of attention. It said this: how did he steal the working class from the Democrats? Well, in the most obvious way, by purloining their pro-labor agenda. He has.
Well, the reason why is because you can't have a you can't have a party of people who constantly think that and talk down to voters. And I think this is the way that a lot of I think working class people believe, is that they view Democrats as ivory tower intellectuals that add basically no value to society. Whereas in a lot of cases, these are people that have physical labor jobs and things that, provide some sort of tangible effect to society. And so when they're being talked down to by some graphic artist that, uses Photoshop for a living to make pretty pictures, and they get told, learn to code from this person, they're not going to appreciate that at all. You think they're smarter than yeah, you think you're smarter than me? Exactly. That's exactly the way they feel.
Force the board.
Okay, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? Because it just seems as if that Asmongold has an opinion, but he expresses it in the form of optics, right? Because now nobody can attack him. He's saying, okay, do you see how people feel condescended, people whatever? But he doesn't ever address, is this actually the case? He doesn't ever dig into whether or not a democratic policy is good or not. He doesn't actually go into what the bill says, or what kind of, what do the experts talk about? What do the experts think about it? But again, he hides behind this wall of optics and humor in order to defend his points, which is a really bad way of defending your points. how you're supposed to defend your points is you're supposed to make a solid stance, and you're supposed to use facts and logic in order to defend your points. However, because he wants to shy away from criticism, you'll always go to, this is what the people think, this is what the people think, this is what the people think. The people could be thinking wrong, okay? You don't know that. This is like it's a non-point. It's a complete non-point. The people could be incorrect, right? The people could be incorrect. So it doesn't really matter, right? So yeah, you should be seeking out the truth yourself. The people shouldn't dictate what you yourself, the streamer, the independent person, should think.
And is now instituting widespread tariffs, implementing a broad protectionist agenda committed to reshoring manufacturing and giving the working class a boost, the likes of which we haven't seen since the New Deal. Tell me about your column and the reaction to it.
Do you know, it's so amazing. This morning on one of the liberal channels, I saw a Democrat congressman, and he was just sitting there saying, I have no idea why President Trump is doing this. They simply cannot understand why he is implementing the tariffs, because the answer...
Well, the thing is, like, if you voted for Trump, this is very important. If you voted for Trump and you're upset about these tariffs, you kicked yourself in the dick.
True.
He said he was going to do this the entire time. He said, guys, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, guys. Guys, guess what I'm going to do? Boys, have you heard about my favorite word? So yeah, seriously, so anybody who's voted for Trump, who's complaining about these tariffs, you are so dumb. He said this from the beginning. This is one of the only things Trump has been consistent on even. You can look at interviews from Trump in 1980, and he's talking about tariffs. Really? He's talking about even then.
answer is simple.
The extremely rare, the extremely rare Asmongold true point, okay? See, do you see here how Asmongold this time doesn't appeal to only a humor point, or it's like, oh, I find this funny. He never said that, right? I mean, maybe he does. He most likely does. I think it's funny, all right? But he doesn't go like, oh, okay, true, but it's funny, right? Or he doesn't say like, oh, look at the optics of this. The people are going to think X and Y. He doesn't say that. But because notice here, now when he's making this point, he's saying it from the perspective of me, first person perspective. I think you're dumb. I think they're dumb. This is what I think. All right. So finally, an opinion that's coming from he himself, not just appealing to optics. So this is what I'm talking about, the Mott and Bailey of commentary, where when you're attacking, you're saying, this is what I think. But then when you're defending, you're saying, oh, this is what the people think. This is what I find funny. And you can't blame me for that. So yeah.
Is choosing Main Street over Wall Street. He has chosen to bet on the American working class instead of on the rich elites.
That's right. That's exactly it. And that's the reason why you see so many of these people on social media that are unhappy about it. It's because they're the ones that have a bunch of money in the lawsuit. Or sorry, in the stock market. And I don't know why I said lawsuit. And I think they're permanent. He's talking about abolishing income tax under $150,000. Yes. And this is like, almost all identity politics is, in my opinion, a proxy for class warfare. And I think that this is one of the first examples that you can really see of like this class warfare taking into effect. And I think that there are a lot of people that are in like the Trump like Republican Party that are actually extremely far left with their economic policy, but only for Americans. Like, basically, they have no problem giving a lot of money to other people in America. They just don't want it going to Mexico. And you're seeing these people come forward now. America first, exactly, America first. I love this, yes. And so that's the big difference.
This is astonishing because for 60 years, presidents on both sides of the aisle have sided with the rich over the hardest working Americans, the American working class.
That's exactly it. And I think that's the way people have seen it. And this is just a good little example The wealthiest top 10% of households own over 85% of corporate stock. This is again what I was saying, is people are fighting back against this. And so, yeah, that's, well, no shit. Yeah, exactly.
This is a fundamental misunderstanding of what stocks are. Stocks include retirement. And people's retirement, you don't fuck with people's retirement funds. Yeah, stocks are retirement. Well, not just retirement, sorry. Retirement is stocks. So, the vast majority, I'm pretty sure, God, do the vast majority of Americans have retirement funds? Yeah, 54.4% of American families had retirement accounts, meaning nearly half of Americans do not have retirement savings. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not just like the top 10% of households, it's like 50%, 55%. And in addition, people's pensions, and I know that Asmongold has said on stream that he cared about pensions before because Tim Waltz was talking about Tesla stocks crashing. So I know that Asmongold has came across media that talked about pensions being affected by stock market performance. So at the end of the day, what you have is people have pensions, people have retirement funds and pensions are affected by the performance of the stock market. Period. This is what people do not know. They think that retirement funds is based off, it is static. They think it's static. They think it just increases flatly over time. That's not true. Retirement funds and retirement funds, investments, and stocks, pensions, these are all affected by the performance of the stock market. So you are in fact taking away a lot of money from hardworking, working class Americans when the stock market goes down. This is why people care. All right. So this isn't just like retribution for the rich. Okay. All right.
The funny how that works? It is.
And, you know, I used to have the Trump derangement syndrome. You know, I started out as a lefty, a liberal. I really couldn't understand the draw people had to this president. But over time, I've come to see that he is simply the inheritor of the values that used to define the Democrats because they used to be the party of labor.
Was there a...
Trump is the perfect embodiment of the id of the American working class. And he works in that behavior, in that way, and I think that's why he's so successful.
Okay, dude. You know who else was successful? Joseph Stalin and Adolf Hitler, okay?
That's why you have all of these hicks and hillbillies that are voting for a guy that was born a multi-fucking millionaire, and they can relate more to him. It's because he knows how to tap into that. He bankrupted 3 casinos. Yeah, I don't. What's your point? Like that he's bad at business? I don't think that doesn't have anything to do with it. 100% right, man. Yeah, that's what it is. What about all the businesses he's ruined? I mean, what about it? What's the point? I don't even get it. What do you like? Okay, like that's not even what's being discussed.
Is Asmongold's chat actually pushing back now? I know that Asmongold's chat has always pushed back, but are they pushing back more now? I would imagine the people who disagree with Asmongold a lot would not be in Asmongold's chat. They would just, I don't know, just float around, right?
Discuss.
A single moment that changed you?
So the cracks came a little at a time and then all at once. You know, the first was my rabbi, who's the best person I know, told me that he loved Trump. And I suddenly realized, well, I guess not every person who voted for him is a racist. Then I was doing a lot of reporting from the South.
This is an intermission, all right? If you guys are enjoying the content, please consider leaving a like, a comment, or a sub. I do have several other channels. One other channel is Snack Markets, which is going to be in the description below. That channel is specifically where I put archived content. I have a third channel named Fair Stalls, okay, which is also in the description below. That channel going to be uploading all the politics related stuff there. So when it's only politics and no drama in terms of like internet glubshittle drama, then I'm gonna move it to the politics channel. And you know, that's just how it's gonna be, okay? Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
On American polarization, and what I found was a lot more united Americans than divided us, even in this moment. It was really the elites who were polarized, but average Americans were very united. And then the kicker was in 2018, I saw a Yale study. And in this Yale study, it found that
this
there was...
This is again what I was saying, is that average people do see it this way. They do look at it this way, and they think to themselves like, okay, well,
Well, the average person doesn't have a good understanding of economics. They don't have a good understanding of how like taxes work. They don't have a good understanding of what makes good policy. There's a lot of things that the average person really sucks at. So obviously they're not going to be the most informed voters at all. Like, do you really think the average person is going to have a true understanding? They only have feelings, and you know, facts don't care about feelings, right? Average person that isn't well informed. Yeah, the average person believes God exists. So, you know,
a lot of people like feel like outsourcing and like offshoring different types of like just development and business. This has come, the perspective of offshoring business and outsourcing things to other countries. The perspective that the average American has is that this has come at the expense of the worker and to the benefit of the, you know, top 1%. People felt it? Well, regardless of like what you like, oh, it did, it didn't, that's not the point. This is what people think. I've been saying this shit for like a decade. A lot of people have been saying this for a very long time. Yeah, it's a very, very common line of reasoning.
Difference between how white...
Okay, everybody suffers from tariffs, okay? It's not just the top 1%, okay? It's including the bottom 99% as well. When you put tariffs on car parts or anything regarding a car, okay? Now, less cars, well, more expensive cars are going to be sold in the United States because obviously companies don't want to lose that money. But now that car parts are more expensive that are imported from other countries, it's not like we have immediately the infrastructure to build all of these car parts, I think, right? Like, it's not like, oh, we announced the tariffs and suddenly we have all these new job openings. That's not true. What's going to happen is that, again, this is the example that I always go to, is that you have tariffs that make cars more expensive. People are going to buy less cars. And now there's going to be less workers needed in order to manufacture the cars in the first place. So less workers needed also means more people are going to be laid off. And this is why we see a lot of people being laid off. Because why do you need these workers when you're going to be producing less? You're producing less because things are more expensive. Tariffs are not that hard to understand, and it's not that hard to understand why a broad, sweeping tariff is bad. Tariffs can be good if you're trying to protect a sector of your economy that is specialized in something. Or maybe the other country is being a fucking asshole. You don't know, right? So yeah.
White liberals and white conservatives talk to Black and Hispanic Americans. And here was the difference. White liberals dumb down their vocabulary.
They don't even know what the word computer is
when they're talking to Black or Hispanic people.
And
white conservatives don't do that. They use a lower level of vocabulary. It's called presenting lower competence. They use smaller words when they're talking to Blacks and Hispanics than they do when they're talking to white people. This is white liberals. But white conservatives don't do that. And I remember looking at this and thinking, and we, the liberals, call them the racists? this is the most racist thing I ever heard.
Yeah.
And it was an indictment of the entire...
Yeah, they don't know where the DMV is. How can you expect them to get an ID? They can't find a DMV.
Progressive worldview, which is based on this idea that minorities require the largesse and the beneficence of white progressives in order to thrive. And that was really a moment where
the reason why they have that thinking is because it puts them in the virtuous position that they want to be in. It's not because it's true. It's simply because their worldview is built around them being the savior, so they can feel good about themselves.
Realized, wow, there's something really wrong with the left as it is, and came to see that it was President Trump who wanted to implement a...
Does that matter? I mean, it matters in terms of messaging. It matters in terms of whatever, right? But shouldn't you be trying to explore what is a good policy in the first place? Shouldn't you be trying to explore, I don't know, like, whether or not the economics behind the policy is good? Like, is everything hinged on optics? Is everything hinged on humor and optics?
Agenda items that would restore dignity to working class Americans. That's what this entire agenda is about. That's what these tariffs are about.
And so, do you think that others are coming around to this opinion? Like, you hear about feedback.
Yeah, you're not going to get people that are working class to think that these tariffs are bad if you tell them that, well, stocks are going down. They don't care about stocks. They care about, like, growth.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Groceries, they don't have stocks.
From a lot of people.
So the response...
But this affects groceries as well. Okay. Does Asmongold think that 100% of grocery produce comes from America? How much groceries? The US imports more food products than it exports, at close to 20% of its food supply. Yeah, around 15% to 20% of the food is imported from other countries. So of course, prices of groceries are going to rise. They're going to rise because it's more expensive to get them in the country in the first place. And if anything, they might actually just stop trading entirely because it's not worth it to have this level of unpredictability, right? With these countries, with the rising and falling tariffs. So, either way, it's not good. Yeah.
I think that this idea of a MAGA lefty is resonating so much with so many conservatives.
Well, I don't think it's that surprising.
Well, it's not at all. And this is at least, like, for me, this is...
58% of US families had some sort of exposure to the stock market in 2022, Pew. Yeah, and also a lot of it comes from a fundamental misunderstanding or being uninformed about the fact that retirement funds and investments and pensions are entirely dependent on the stock market, actually. Asmongold, I would wager Asmongold doesn't know that because a lot of Americans don't. So, you know, I don't blame him entirely. But yeah. If it was groceries, you'd want no tariffs so grocery bills would be cheaper. Yeah, exactly. You got it.
The way that at least I feel. Like, I'm like very far left with economic policy. Like, I'm universal basic income. I mean, can you be any more left than that? And so, like, but I only want it for Americans. Like, basically, I want the government to only act in the best interest of, like, our citizens and never do anything that could
Being isolationist is not economically left. When you're putting in tariffs, you are becoming increasingly isolationist. The more isolationist you are, the less leaning economically you are. Period. That's it. Okay? Trade. Expanding global influence. That's left-leaning, okay? Also, investments are predictions of the future. Stock market is down, including American companies. If tariffs helped American companies, you'd see higher investments there. Exactly. Yep.
compromise the well-being of our citizens for the best interests of other citizens. And
I support UBI, okay? Me too. I think that a lot of AI is likely going to put a lot of people out of work. And because people are going to be put out of work and, if the economy is going to shit in the near future, then yeah, I would generally support UBI. But at the same time, you can't say, I support UBI, but I also support tariffs. Because tariffs is gonna put more people on UBI. Because people are gonna be out of work. If we had UBI in the first place, that is. Oh wait, we don't have UBI. Which means, well, I guess, fuck you. We're just fucked then. Right? Investments are predictions of the future. Yeah. We tried this strategy in the 1920s. That worked out well, though. Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about. But you know what? Wait, is that the Great Depression?
Other people in other countries. So like no migrants, no unnecessary immigration, no foreign payments, no foreign aid. Get rid of all of that and make sure that we're getting, domestic aid and helping those people, right? It should be that, and that's the way that I feel. That's my value system. What is an American? A citizen of America. So a person who lives in America, who is a citizen of the country that can legally vote. So if you've come here on a green card, you're not really an American. If you've come here illegally, you're not really an American. If you're visiting, you're not really an American. What I'm talking about are people that are citizens of the country. Yeah, kids aren't American? What? I mean, kids, of course, kids would be citizens. What do you mean? All countries should be like that? Said, yeah, the fact that you had to ask that question. Yeah, Chatter is an American? Yeah, basically, right? Oh, you said vote? Well, yeah, it's a collection of things.
Because we are living through a political realignment. And when you go through a realignment, it takes 10 to 15, 20 years for it to happen. And so to me, I think it's just maybe a little bit of the natural order of things. And partly because
I still think it's entirely wild that now Japan is considering forming a trading alliance with China. China is forming a trading alliance with Japan. Allegedly. Like, how much do you have to fuck up to get them to cooperate with each other? These guys hate each other. I mean, they look exactly the same to any outsider, alright? Like, insider, you can probably tell the differences. But I'm gonna tell you right now, okay? They hate each other, alright? Japan hates China, China hates Japan. And that's really about it.
that presidents didn't care about the working class. I do think
like again, how much do you have to fuck up to make them cooperate?
A lot of it had to do with identity
what
politics
the fuck, dude?
And the woke liberalism, and also trying to take rights away from parents. And that has been a big issue. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. You have 2 cents?
You need to write a piece for the Free Press. But you wear your MAGA lefty label now with pride.
I do.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for being here. Thank you guys so much.
Interesting perspective.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
MAGA lefty? You mean Hassan Piker? I'm kidding.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's pretty much the way that a lot of people feel. And, you know, again, arguing from the perspective of like,
again, he appeals to, oh, this is what a lot of people feel, when he literally just said before, this is what I personally feel, this is what I think, this is what I feel, right? Do you see how now he's using it as a defense? Because maybe he realizes it might be like a far-fetched thing to say, so now he's saying, oh, this is what the people feel, as if, oh, if the majority of people agree with me, I must be correct. If the American people agree with me, I must be correct. Well, no. Most people could think a certain way, but they could also be just straight up incorrect. They could be misinformed. They could be uninformed. A lot of American voters are not fully informed, right? So,
taxes are really high or something like that. Stocks are down. People don't give a shit about that. They're not going to care about that one way or another because they don't have stocks in a lot of cases. The prices of everything, specifically groceries, are going to...
They do, okay. Retirement funds are stocks, okay, all right.
Go up like 2x. We'll have to wait and see. I think so. I think there's a good chance that could happen. Yeah, it could go up a lot. It's tougher than strawmanning. Building up your opponent's argument to make it as strong as possible, the better than they can. Oh, so I'm defending it. Well, I'm not really defending it or not. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs. I mean, I'll say that the tariffs are massively destabilizing, and of course people are really worried about them. And yeah, I mean, I can see why they're worried. I think it makes a lot of sense.
You know what actually sucks? Is that Asmongold is so wealthy, he's so rich, that his quality of life will not change. Alright? I know everybody memes about how trashy Asmongold is or whatever. Well, he's rich. He gets to have the choice on whether or not he gets to live a trashy life or not, right? The freedom of choice to choose what kind of life you want to live. But a lot of people aren't going to have that choice. When a lot of people want to actually live nicer, they can't, because now prices are going to be higher because of universal tariffs, and so therefore they're going to live in a shittier position overall over the next few years. And the fact that there's already like irreversible damage to the economy either way, and then Asmongold is still like providing sweeping for Trump is, I guess it's just kind of sad, right? It's just kind of sad that the state of discourse is right now. Like, I don't think people in Asmongold's chat are like as wealthy as Asmongold. I don't think so whatsoever. They're not earning $1 million a month off of ad revenue and donations. They're not a multimillionaire like Asmongold. They're getting fucked over, but then their minds have just been corrupted by Asmon propaganda. I don't know, like this delusion, this absolute delusion that Trump knows what he's doing, when in reality he's extremely clueless. It's just very sad to see, you know?